All right. Ready to dive deep into the fall of Constantinople.
Sounds good to me.
We've got scholarly articles, historical accounts.
The whole shebang.
We'll break down exactly how and why this changed history.
It really did.
And trust me,
Yeah.
there are some fascinating details in here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You definitely won't find those in your average textbook.
Well, what's really fascinating to me is how even back then in 1453, this had this global ripple effect.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a change of ownership.
Right.
We're talking the end of the Roman Empire here.
Wow.
An empire that had lasted for over 1,500 years.
It's hard to even wrap your head around that, isn't it?
It really is.
And,
Yeah.
we kind of picture Constantinople as this easily conquered city.
Oh, yeah.
But that's so far from the truth.
Totally.
Think about it.
Mm.
It was New Rome, the heart of the Byzantine Empire.
Uh-huh.
This city was legendary for its defenses.
Exactly.
I mean, it had only fallen once before.
Right.
Way back in 1204.
During the Fourth Crusade. Yeah, that's right.
And even then, it was
Yeah.
less a conquest and more of a takeover from within.
Oh, interesting.
During a time of crazy internal conflicts.
Okay, so not really a true fall then.
No, not really.
So that's what makes Mehmed II's victory in 1453 even more remarkable.
Absolutely.
He wasn't just seizing an opportunity.
Nope.
It was meticulously planned
It was.
against a city known for being so resilient.
Yeah.
And get this,
Yeah.
Mehmed II,
Uh-huh.
he was only 21
Oh, wow.
when he led this whole siege.
That's unbelievable.
What were those European powers even thinking?
Yeah.
Did they just totally underestimate him because of how young he was?
It's
Yeah.
definitely possible.
Yeah.
History's full of those kinds of stories.
That's true.
Leaders underestimated left and right.
Right.
But Mehmed II was different.
It sounds like it.
He was ambitious, a brilliant strategist.
Uh-huh.
I'd even say a visionary.
Really?
Yeah.
In what way?
He understood that Constantinople was the key.
The key to controlling all those trade routes
Right.
and to expanding the Ottoman Empire's influence.
So he wasn't just thinking about winning this one battle.
No, not at all.
It was bigger than that.
Yeah, his vision extended way beyond that.
Yeah.
He wanted to shape the future.
Wow.
And when you look at his preparations for the siege,
Mm-hmm.
they were incredible.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that.
So he had this massive fortress
Mm.
built, the Rumeli Hisara.
That's a mouthful.
It is
But why build that?
specifically to cut off Constantinople's access.
Yeah.
The Bosphorus Strait.
So it's like he was tightening a noose around the city.
It really is.
What was he hoping to achieve with that?
Well, a couple of things.
Okay.
One, cutting off potential help and supplies.
Oh, right. So isolating them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Two, he was showing off his power
Right.
to the Byzantines and any allies they might have.
That's like a power move.
Totally.
Okay.
Like, hey, look at me. I'm not messing around.
It definitely sent chills down my spine when I read that quote.
Oh, yeah. From Mehmed II to his soldiers before the siege. That's a good one. He said, "My friends and men of my empire, you all know very well that our forefathers secured this kingdom that we now hold at the cost of many struggles and very great dangers. They are not such very ancient events, nor of such a sort as to be forgotten through the lapse of time."
Powerful stuff.
It gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
He wasn't just talking about conquering a city.
No, he was invoking a whole legacy.
Yeah.
A sense of destiny for the Ottomans.
It's giving manifest destiny vibes.
for sure.
So on one side, you have Mehmed II, super ambitious.
Totally.
And on the Byzantine side,
Yeah.
you've got Emperor Constantine VIII
Right.
desperately trying to find help from the West.
Mm.
But there's this huge problem.
What's that?
Centuries of tension with the Roman Catholic Church,
Oh, yeah.
religious and political,
It was a mess.
that created a giant rift.
Yeah, a huge one.
So what kind of impact did that have on Constantine's ability to get support?
Okay, put yourself in Constantine's shoes. Okay.
The weight of an empire on your shoulders, facing this huge threat,
Yeah.
and you turn to your neighbors for help,
Yeah.
and they're hesitant,
Ouch.
reluctant.
Oh, man.
The failed attempts to reconcile the churches,
Yeah.
all that baggage from past conflicts,
Oh.
it just created mistrust.
Yeah. You can't force trust.
Exactly.
God.
So is that it? Well, on top of that,
Yeah.
Europe had its own problems.
Oh, right.
The 100 Years' War,
Yeah.
the Reconquista in Spain.
Uh-huh.
They weren't exactly looking for another conflict.
They had enough on their plates.
They really did.
So basically, Constantine was left scrambling
Pretty much.
with barely any allies.
Yeah.
There was Giovanni Giustiniani.
The Genoese siege expert, he showed up with a few hundred men.
Better than nothing.
Definitely.
And some last-minute support from Venice,
Uh-huh.
but they were still totally outnumbered.
Oh, yeah, by a lot.
So was there anything else working against them?
Besides being totally outnumbered, the Byzantines were facing a real psychological challenge.
Like what?
You got to remember,
Yeah.
the Ottoman Empire,
Okay.
it was at its peak.
Wow.
This rising power,
Okay.
known for being strong militarily.
So they had a reputation.
Oh, yeah, big time.
And the Byzantines,
They were seen as this fading empire.
like they were past their prime,
Exactly.
like a washed-up boxer.
Yeah, clinging to past glories.
So that perception must have been tough.
Oh, yeah.
Feeling like you're already losing.
Incredibly demoralizing
Yeah, I can see.
for any defender.
Yeah.
But Constantinople itself,
Yeah.
that was a force to be reckoned with.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Those legendary walls,
Uh-huh.
20 kilometers long,
Wow.
recently reinforced.
That's impressive.
It must have been a sight to see.
You know, I kind of want to see a picture now.
Right.
And then there's the Great Chain
Nice.
blocking the Golden Horn.
It was massive.
This chain that could literally stop enemy ships.
From even entering the harbor.
Wow.
Amazing, right?
That must have given them some hope.
Oh, definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we've got this.
Constantinople had withstood countless sieges
Yeah.
over centuries.
It was like their thing.
Right.
So those defenses, they weren't just physical.
It was deeper than that.
Right.
They represented the city's spirit,
Okay.
their ability to resist no matter what.
It's like the heart of their resistance.
It really is.
The sources even talk about the defenders,
Yeah.
how determined they were.
They knew the odds,
Yeah.
but they were ready to defend their city.
Till the end.
To the death.
It's a real-life David and Goliath story,
It really is.
except David's got some serious fortifications.
Man, he came prepared.
But how did their numbers actually stack up?
Well,
Yeah.
the Byzantine forces,
Yeah.
they were surprisingly small.
How small are we talking?
Probably fewer than 8,000 men.
That's it.
Yeah.
Facing an Ottoman army how many times bigger?
At least 5 times their size.
That's insane.
It really is.
It speaks to their courage,
Oh, yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
but also to how much they believed in those walls.
It was all they had.
But then you have Mehmed II. He unleashes his not-so-secret weapon,
Yeah.
cutting-edge cannons.
Some of them were huge. Some were monstrous.
Like the Basilica.
The what?
The Basilica.
Okay.
That was its name.
It had a name,
Yeah.
like a pet.
Pretty much.
Wow.
It was built by this Hungarian engineer
Okay.
named Orban.
Orban.
Yeah.
And what could this thing do?
This thing could hurl a 600-pound stone ball.
600 pounds?
Yeah.
Over a mile?
That's right.
How did the Byzantines react to that?
I imagine it was a mix of shock and awe. Like,
Yeah.
what is that thing?
Right.
They've been relying on these centuries-old fortifications,
Yeah.
and suddenly there's this new tech that can just obliterate them.
They must have felt pretty helpless.
I would've.
This Orban guy, though,
What about him? What a character.
he was something else.
He offered his services to both sides.
He did?
But the Byzantines couldn't afford him.
Nope.
So he goes to Mehmed II and basically says, my cannon can destroy anything.
Right.
And Mehmed II,
Yeah.
with all his resources,
Right.
he was probably like, sold.
It's a classic story. It shows you how important tech is in warfare.
Right.
And how innovation
Yeah.
can totally change who has the power.
Makes you think, what if
Yeah.
what if the Byzantines had been able to afford him?
Right.
Would the siege have gone differently?
It's a great what if
Yeah.
to ponder.
But you know what? Even the Basilica had its issues.
Oh, really?
It was super slow to reload.
Or how slow?
Ridiculously slow.
Oh, man.
And it took a ton of people to operate it.
So not very efficient.
Nope. And some accounts even say
Yeah.
it blew itself up after just a few weeks.
No way. That's ironic.
It really is.
So much for this super weapon?
Right.
And imagine the psychological effect.
Yeah.
The Ottomans bragging about this thing.
Yeah.
And then boom!
It self-destructs.
Talk about a backfire.
Literally. So the siege begins.
Yeah.
Ottomans start hammering away at the walls.
Uh-huh.
But their cannons,
Yeah.
not as effective as they thought.
Interesting.
The Byzantines were fixing the damage.
Good for them.
And that chain across the Golden Horn,
Yeah.
it held strong.
So the Ottoman fleet was stuck.
Yeah.
What does that tell us about the defenders?
Well, it shows their experience
Oh.
and how resilient they were.
Centuries of defending their city.
Yeah.
They knew how to fortify, repair.
Make the most of what they had.
Exactly.
To the threat.
Yeah, they weren't just sitting ducks.
Nope, they were actively fighting back.
Oh, no.
Mehmet II pulls off this crazy maneuver.
Yeah.
If he can't get his ships through the chain, he'll go over it. He literally drags his ships overland.
You're kidding?
Way.
Wait, that's insane.
Bypassing the chain completely.
Wow.
Entering the Golden Horn.
Genius.
Did anyone see that coming?
Nobody.
It was a total surprise.
Tactically brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
And a huge blow to the Byzantines.
Yeah, you can't underestimate the psychological impact of that.
Right.
The Great Chain.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was supposed to be impenetrable.
And he just sidestepped it.
It must have been demoralizing.
Sure.
Totally.
And things get brutal after that.
Yeah, how so?
The Byzantines try to destroy the Ottoman ships with fire ships.
Bold move.
But it fails.
Oh, no.
And the Ottomans retaliate.
How?
They impale captured Italians
Oh, wow.
on stakes
That's awful.
within sight of the city walls.
Oh,
And they execute Ottoman prisoners.
sending a message.
Yeah, a really chilling one.
It was all about power
Yeah.
and ruthlessness.
Breaking the defender's will.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
Sadly common, though. In siege warfare, it was like saying, resist us, and this will happen to you.
The fighting was intense.
Oh, yeah.
Venetian accounts describe the Janissaries.
The elite Ottoman troops,
Right.
they were relentless.
Like how?
Almost fanatical in their attacks.
Just wave after wave.
Yeah, they just kept coming.
And they weren't afraid to die.
Tell me more about these Janissaries.
Okay.
So they were rigorously trained.
From a young age.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fanatically loyal to the Sultan.
It's like their whole identity.
Right.
They were disciplined, trained,
Yeah.
and they believed in martyrdom.
It was a powerful combination.
It sounds terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
There's this one account
Don't we?
from a Venetian observer. He wrote, "They found the Turks coming right up under the walls and seeking battle, particularly the Janissaries. And when one or two of them were killed, at once more Turks came and took away the dead ones, without caring how near they came to the city walls. Our men shot at them with guns and crossbows, aiming at the Turk who was carrying away his dead countrymen, and both of them would fall to the ground dead. And then there came other Turks and took them away, none fearing death, but being willing to let 10 of themselves be killed rather than suffer the shame of leaving a single Turkish corpse by the walls."
That's chilling.
Imagine seeing that.
I can't even imagine.
They were nearly unstoppable.
They were.
So the walls are holding,
Yeah.
but the Byzantines are running out of options. The Ottomans start digging,
Oh, no.
tunneling under the walls.
To undermine them.
Yeah.
Was that a common tactic back then?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, tunneling was classic siege warfare.
Ah.
A way to bypass those defenses.
What?
But the Byzantines,
Yeah.
they were ready.
They had counter tunnels?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Led by this German engineer,
Who was that?
Johannes Grant.
Johannes Grant.
They'd intercept the Ottoman tunnels,
And then what?
underground battles,
Oh, wow.
and they'd use Greek fire.
An early incendiary weapon to collapse the tunnels.
Can you imagine being down there?
No.
In those tunnels?
It must have been terrifying.
Claustrophobic.
A nightmare.
It really must have been.
But then there's this crazy story.
What happened?
Captured Turkish officers.
Okay.
They're forced to tell the Byzantines
What?
where their tunnels are.
Ah.
The Byzantines are listening
Yeah.
in the darkness, hoping to hear digging.
Knowing their city's fate depends on it.
It's like something out of a movie.
It really
A
is.
desperate tactic.
Morally questionable,
For sure.
but effective.
Yeah, it worked.
Shows how high the stakes were.
Every little bit of information mattered.
Everything.
And even then, with the odds stacked against him,
Right.
Constantine's G.
He was still defiant.
How so?
Mehmet II offered him a deal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What kind of deal?
Leave peacefully.
Okay.
Keep your life, your possessions.
Yeah, that's pretty generous.
But Constantine VII,
Yeah.
he gives this amazing response.
What did he say?
As to surrendering the city to you, it is not for me to decide or for anyone else of its citizens. For all of us have reached the mutual decision to die of our own free will without any regard for our lives.
He chose to fight
He did.
over giving up.
It's powerful stuff.
Really is.
Shows his courage.
And the spirit of the Byzantines.
But the stage is set for the final assault.
And you can't help but wonder what happens next.
It's a cliffhanger.
It really is. And that final assault, it was brutal.
As you'd expect.
A desperate fight for survival on both sides.
It's hard to imagine.
Imagine this. It's early morning,
Okay.
May 29th, 1453.
After weeks of fighting,
Days of bombardment, tunneling, all of it.
the Ottomans are
Yeah, the Ottoman army launches this massive attack.
all out,
Wave after wave of
just
troops.
crashing against those walls.
The walls are weakened by this point.
It's still standing. The sound of the fighting, the chaos.
It must have been terrifying.
I can't even imagine being there.
So many key moments during this assault.
What stands out to you?
When Giovanni Giustiniani was wounded?
The Genoese commander?
Yeah, the one who'd been leading the defense.
He was so important to their strategy.
So instrumental.
And he gets badly hurt.
Severely wounded.
What happened then?
He had to be carried away from the fighting.
And that must have been demoralizing.
Incredibly so.
To the defenders?
They saw their leader fall.
Giustiniani had been holding them together.
Absolutely.
What about his troops?
A lot of his Genoese troops.
The ones who had been fighting alongside the Byzantines?
They started to retreat.
Oh, no.
They headed towards the harbor.
Away from the fighting.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
But still...
Their leader is down.
And what about Constantine XI, the emperor?
Did he fight to the end?
You know, the exact details of his death.
Yeah.
They're kind of shrouded in mystery.
Really?
Which adds to the legend, right?
It does.
Some accounts say he threw off his imperial robes.
Wow.
And led this final charge.
Like a true warrior.
Dying with a sword in his hand.
Wow.
Others say he was just overwhelmed.
By the Ottomans.
By the sheer force of their attack.
Lost in the chaos.
Fascinating.
It is.
We don't have a definitive account.
So we don't know for sure how he died.
It's like his fate disappeared in the chaos.
Became part of the legend.
Exactly.
A haunting image.
Is
the last Roman emperor.
As his city falls.
But like we talked about before, the fall of Constantinople.
Yeah.
It was bigger than just one man.
So much bigger.
It was a huge event.
With consequences.
That reached far beyond those walls.
So what happened next?
Mehmed II.
The victor.
He rode triumphantly into Constantinople.
He made it.
Straight to the Hagia Sophia. The grandest church in Christendom.
He converted it into a mosque.
Wow.
A symbol of Islamic dominance.
A powerful statement.
And Constantinople.
Their prize.
It became Istanbul.
The new capital.
Of the Ottoman Empire.
And what about the people who lived there?
In Constantinople.
What happened to them after the siege?
The sources describe widespread looting and violence.
Oh, no.
But there's debate about how bad it really was.
Some say it was a massacre.
Some accounts focus on Mehmed II, trying to restrain his troops.
Really?
Even expressing sadness about the destruction.
So maybe he wasn't as ruthless as some believe.
It's hard to say for sure.
History is messy.
It is.
Full of contradictions.
Told from different perspectives.
With different agendas.
Like trying to put together a puzzle.
Yeah.
With missing pieces.
And the ones you have don't quite fit.
Exactly.
But one thing's for sure.
What's that?
The fall of Constantinople.
Yeah.
It sent shockwaves through Europe.
It did.
It was a sign.
Of Christian vulnerability.
And a shifting balance of power.
The world was changing.
And it wasn't just political and military, right?
No, there were cultural ramifications too.
Like what?
So many Greek scholars fled westward.
Okay.
They took ancient texts and knowledge with them.
And where did they go?
To Italy.
Okay.
Contributing to the Italian Renaissance.
Wow. So the fall of Constantinople.
Yeah.
It was a tragedy for the Byzantines.
For sure.
But it kind of sparked
inadvertently
a period of cultural growth in the West.
It's an interesting irony.
It really is.
Loss and destruction.
Can sometimes lead to new beginnings.
That's a good way to put it.
So we've covered a lot.
We have.
The events leading up to the fall, the siege itself, the aftermath. But what does it all mean?
Centuries later.
Why should we care about this today?
That's the big question, isn't it? The big question, right?
Yeah, it makes you think.
Yeah.
What are the Constantinoples of today?
Oh, that's a good one.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, are there any institutions or beliefs that seem unshakable, but actually
might be more vulnerable than we think?
Right.
That's the thing about history, isn't it?
Yeah.
We look back and we're like,
yeah.
How could they not see it coming?
Totally.
But are we any different? We have our own blind spots.
Yeah, we get comfortable.
Right.
We think things will always stay the same.
That's human nature.
And then,
bam,
everything changes.
The world shifts.
And we're left scrambling.
It's humbling.
It is?
You know, if we zoom out for a second, the fall of Constantinople wasn't just about military power.
It was a clash of civilizations, religions,
ideology,
the whole thing.
It had this massive impact on the relationship between East and West.
Absolutely.
And that still plays out today.
It really does.
It's fast.
One concept that came out of this
was
this idea of the Third Rome.
The Third Rome.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
After Rome fell,
And then Constantinople fell.
the question was...
Who would inherit that legacy? That Roman legacy.
So who gets to be Rome now?
Exactly.
I like it.
And this idea, it fueled so much ambition
Yeah.
and rivalries for centuries.
Like who?
The Russian czars,
Okay.
they saw themselves as heirs
To Rome.
to that Roman tradition.
Interesting.
Even Mehmed II.
The guy who conquered Constantinople.
Right.
What did he do?
He declared himself Caesar of the Romans.
Wow, so everyone wanted a piece of that.
It's incredible, right?
Yeah, how one event
Can lead to so many competing stories.
claims to legitimacy.
It's mind-blowing.
Speaking of stories,
Yeah.
it's amazing how many legends came out of this.
Oh, yeah.
The fall of Constantinople,
There are so many.
the Holy Spirit leaving the Hagia Sophia,
In a beam of light.
right?
Yeah.
The priests who disappeared into the walls.
As the Ottomans stormed in,
The emperor turning to marble,
hidden underground.
waiting to come back to life.
It's wild.
It's like people couldn't handle the reality of what happened.
It was too much.
So they created these fantastical stories.
To cope with the trauma.
It's understandable.
I think so.
Constantinople was so symbolic.
It wasn't just a city.
Right.
It was a whole civilization, an idea.
A way of life.
So when it fell,
Yeah.
people needed an explanation.
Something more than cannons and strategy.
It had to be about fate,
Destiny,
divine will.
and those legends.
Even though they're not historically accurate,
Yeah.
they help people process the loss
Right.
and keep that memory alive,
The memory of Constantinople.
transcending what actually happened.
It's powerful.
It really
It's
is,
how stories shape our understanding of history.
even if they're rooted in myth.
And the fall of Constantinople.
Yeah,
It became this cautionary tale, like
Yeah.
a warning.
even the mightiest empires can crumble.
Yeah, for centuries after Europe wanted to recapture it,
To take it back,
restore Christian dominance.
it became this goal,
Almost unattainable.
the symbol of what they'd lost
That they wanted back.
desperately.
So the ghost of Constantinople haunted Europe.
In a way, it did.
This longing.
This feeling of loss.
Yeah.
It shaped European identity.
And their ambition.
It contributed to the Crusades.
Wow.
Fuel the rivalry between East and West,
It all comes back to that.
and even influenced exploration
Really?
and colonization of new lands.
So in many ways,
Yeah.
the fall of Constantinople,
It kept echoing through history
pushing Europe
to seek new frontiers
to reclaim their power.
on the world stage.
It's amazing to think
Yeah.
how this one event
The fall of a city
over 500 years ago,
could have such a huge impact.
it shows you
History's not just about dates and battles.
Wait,
It's all connected.
events, ideas, legacies.
That still influence us today.
That's what I love about these deep dives.
Me too.
We peel back the layers of history
Uncover hidden connections.
and explore how the past...
Still shapes our present.
And it's not just about knowing what happened.
Right.
It's about understanding why it matters.
How it shapes our understanding of the world.
And of ourselves.
And that, I think, is
Yeah.
what makes it all so fascinating.
I think so too.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time.
Keep exploring.